You read the title of this episode, and you attempted to give it a miss this week. It can't be that interesting. Well, let's try and lure you in with another big intro. There are no sports steeped in the mythology of this one. None. Nothing even comes close. It dates back to the beginning, the actual beginning, as in the very beginning. It spawned from hunting. It was weaponized in war, but given enough time, approximately 18,000 years to be precise, it's become about fun, and it's been on a journey, and along the way, there's been some good stories. Oh, the stories. Everywhere has one. A tale of a heroic legend who captured the hearts and minds of every child growing up. And they all had one thing in common. They were all virtuoso marksmen, with two simple tools, a bow and an arrow. The Greeks had their gods, Artemis and Apollo. The Romans, Diana and Cupid. The Persians had Arash and the Armenians Hak. The Babylonians had Marduk. The Indians Karna. And then, of course, there was the great outlaw himself, Robin Hood, the heroic rebel, with his band of merry men, robbing the rich to give to the poor with his sidekick Little John. No wonder, then, some of us mere mortals strive to replicate their fabled talents and be like them. Maybe more poignantly, it's no wonder that we want to feel like them. We can't all etch our names into history or have them sing fabled songs about us. But when you let that arrow fly, you can, just for a moment, feel powerful and free. So come on, let's learn about it together. It might be the start of something you never knew you needed in your life. It's archery. Oh, and you should know from the outset, South Korea are really very good at it. This is the Sporting Almanac Podcast. Yeah, so this is a very odd episode, mate, because I'm going to be asking you how you are, but I don't actually know how you are because we're pre-recording this and you're currently on your hollybobs in America.
I'm great. I'm on my hollybobs in America. How are you?
I'm okay, yeah. I'm hoping I'm okay. This is recorded in advance, everybody. So, yeah, well, we're going to just cover archery today, the Archery World Cup. We've found time to do it, despite the fact that you are unavailable for a window of time. The wonders of modern technology and diaries and organisational skills.
And the ability of me just to dump this onto the internet and forget about it. Do you want to know the reason we're doing archery today, Ben? Other than the fact that it's a very historic sport, a very well-practiced sport around the world, etc., etc.
I do want to know why it's in our itinerary, because neither of us know anything about archery, and I can't say...
Well, when's that ever stopped us?
Yeah, but I can't say that either of us are archery enthusiasts at heart, but that may change today.
No, so this is because when we first started up, very first week we started up, so we set up the socials and everything like that, one of the first podcasts to reach out to me was the Archery Parent podcast. A woman named Anisha Solomon reached out, and I listened to her podcast. It's excellent. I can recommend it. And I promised to her there and then that the Archery World Cup was coming around in the autumn, and we'd preview it in our podcast then. And here we are, 29-ish episodes later.
Yeah.
It's hard to remember because we're pre-recording, but even though I'm on holiday, got to keep to my promise and thank her for reaching out and making me feel welcome in the podcast community right at the beginning. So thank you for that. And now we're going to butcher the sport you love.
But we are making good on the promise. So
that's the important thing.
That counts for something, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, where do we start? Because archery's been around a while.
I mean, to say the least, it's been around for a while. It's a bit like when we're talking about, running and boxing. As soon as humans have been in existence, they found new and creative ways to kill things, and then got bored in between adventures out killing things and made a sport of the tools they used to do so. And archery is obviously one of them. It goes back many, many tens of thousands of years in terms of practicality.
I was going to say,
as a sport, many hundreds of years.
I put in my notes, the precise start of organised sporting archery is extremely unclear.
Yeah, but we like that, don't we? So I can take us back all the way. And when I say all the way back, I'm talking 60,000 years ago, Ben.
Yeah.
Are you ready for this adventure?
This is something of an odyssey by any standard.
Indeed.
Year by year, I guess.
Year by year, yes. So 60,000 years ago, humans started using bows and arrows for hunting, obviously purposes originally, or possibly defending themselves against other humans. 59,999 years ago, I don't know what happened. Let's move on from there. Anyway, by the end of the last ice age, which is about 12,000 years ago now, archery had basically spread across the entire planet except Australia, and no one's quite sure why it never reached Australia. It's possible that the wood wasn't suitable for bow making. It's possible, as we discussed in the last episode, that the native population of Australia were just too damn nice to be killing each other. So one of those two things might be possible, but nevertheless, Australia didn't get there till a bit later.
That's mad.
Obviously. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, that's very weird.
Because, I mean, obviously humans reached there, they just didn't take that particular piece of technology with them, but there you go. So obviously the primary use of the bow was for hunting, followed by warfare. Bows and arrows have been used for that particular purpose since prehistoric times, with archaeologists finding human skeletal remains with arrows within them dating back over 10,000 years. So, you know,
we don't
doing
change.
what we do best.
We don't change.
Mm-hmm. Very closely associated with a lot of sort of ancient cultures, notable for their skill with the bow. One of these famously being the Nubian people from the Nile region of what is now Egypt and Sudan. And use of bows in warfare became more common around that time. This is sort of 2,000 years before Christ. Maybe about 3,000 years in this case. Long time ago.
I can't believe we're BC still. But yeah.
I'd love to say this is relevant, but I'm just enjoying myself now.
Well, like, I guess it is kind of relevant because it is how this progressed to just being a pastime.
It's how technology progressed, because ultimately, in any case of war in the entire history of humanity, it turns into an arms race eventually. In that, when we get into sort of the Middle Age period, you've got an arms race basically between bow power, bow techniques, and defensive armor and shielding. So obviously, shields became a thing to catch arrows, and chainmail and leather armor originally, and then obviously plate armor later, although that was more of a fashion statement than anything. So advances in bow making around sort of the early Middle Ages could be super decisive. Notably, at the Battle of Hastings in 1066, where both sides had bows, but the Normans cleverly fired them in the air to bypass shields, and should any kings be looking up at this moment, they might catch an arrow in the eye, because if you believe the legends.
Mr. Harold.
Because that's what, King Harold, what saw to him, allegedly, and handed William the crown.
William the Conqueror.
William the Bastard, depending on who you listen to.
Yeah. His words written by winners, so that's why he's got these. Yeah.
Yes, I can probably guess which of those two nicknames he came up for himself, or got his writers to come up with. So in the Middle Ages, it became the weapon of choice of armies of many notable military leaders. English armies, famously, favouring the longbow. Genghis Khan and his Mongol hordes favouring short bows as they headed west across Europe. The bow, like as a weapon, it became obviously part of mythology and like military lore of lots of countries, the English being a very fine example of that, with the English longbow.
It's where the bird came from as well.
I thought the bird was just the middle finger, or was it two fingers?
Oh, I don't know.
We've got our cameras on, by the way, now, and we're just literally flipping each other off and giving each other the fingers. We do it quite regularly anyway, but we're entertaining ourselves. That's the important thing.
100 Years' Wars and the cutting off of the two fingers is from bowmen.
Agincourt.
Yeah, is what led to the
because
the insult.
English using the longbow could fire 6-10 arrows a minute. A skilled archer, and obviously, if the legend goes, if the French were to capture one of these archers, they cut off their bow fingers, thus rendering them useless. So the insult came: you stick two fingers up at them. Look at me, I've still got my two fingers. Oi, Frenchie. Just basically the history of England. Just sticking two fingers up at the French as many times as we can.
Yeah.
Love you guys, really.
I distracted you with criticism.
You very much did, actually.
Yeah.
Where was I? What year was I in?
You were talking about
still in 60,000 years ago.
Technological advancements, Battle of Hastings, and
I know where I'm at. Just trying to be funny. So this is where it's relevant. I'm getting to the point where it's actually relevant. From a practical point of view, an abundance of skilled bowmen was obviously absolutely crucial to the success of a nation. As more skilled bowmen you have, the more wars you can win, or battles you can win, or whatever else. So this, to the extent that archery as a sport was actively encouraged among men of military age, to the point where it was compulsory to own bows, and to the point as well where other sports were prohibited to ensure that people were practicing archery instead. So basically, the famous law being the 1541 Unlawful Games Act in England, which forbade the playing of other games and sports, so card games, dice games, football was a good example of that, the sort of mass football that we talked about. This is Tudor times now. Forbade all of them to make sure enough people were practicing with the bow, because generally speaking, at this time, it wasn't the nobles who were using the bow in battle. It was the yeomen and the ordinary people. They were told they had to practice with the bow. The nobles were the knights and the jousters and whatever else. So that was the law.
We should probably say very quickly here, the reason we're focusing on this history through the prism of, sort of the United Kingdom's history is not because other people weren't using bow and arrows around the world. We're not that ignorant. It's just that, as all things seem to have taken place during the Victorian era, that's when it became like an organised sport. So you're building to the Victorians, effectively.
I mean, it'd be really embarrassing right now if I wasn't, and I was just bigging up the English. But yes, as it tends to be in all sports, when it comes to organising sports, the vast majority of them were done in the United Kingdom by the noble classes, and I will come to that.
Mm-hmm.
But first, the 1541 Unlawful Games Act, because it's very interesting. I forget to mention as well, tennis was one of the sports that were banned, the proto versions of tennis. Obviously not for the upper classes,
no,
but for the middle and lower classes.
For the riffraff.
Whatever counts as them. The riffraff, indeed. So this law also mandated archery practice like every day, and it banned all games on Christmas Day except for archery. But interestingly, that part of the law wasn't repealed until 1960, which meant that all the Football League games that used to be played on Christmas Day until 1965, all those before 1960, were technically illegal and the players were breaking the law. There's a fun fact for you.
That is, yeah. Didn't know that.
So obviously in terms of like it as a sport, the first time it became sort of an organised sport in England anyway was medieval tournaments. So obviously, as you imagine, the jousting, the melee section of the tournaments, that was what the nobles were after, looking to win. But the common people, the yeomanry, who were like not minor landowners, like people who owned their own plots of land and farmed it, with the yeomanry, so one step above peasantry.
Feudal system.
Yeah, they'd have a chance to prove themselves to the earls and the dukes and the nobles there, who might then bring them into their army as like a leader of a group of archers, and it might get them a slightly bigger piece of land out of it, or might even get them a very minor title out of it if they were good enough. And the same all the way up, so like minor nobles would be hoping to become better nobles and dukes and whatever else. So that was the first sort of tournaments that happened, and that was a collective memory within the English, which later contributed to it becoming an actual organised sport. That sort of romantic history, as it were, when it came to popularisation during the sort of late 18th century, sort of romantic period. Lots of writers writing poetry and stories about this period. Obviously, Shakespeare had done that as well in the 16th and 17th century as well. But anyway, I digress.
He wrote about a lot of stuff, that guy.
He did. Yeah, quite famous.
Mm.
Again, very Anglo-centric, this episode.
They all will be, I'm afraid. Not every single one, actually. Depends where the sport originates from. Not the next episode. Yeah, it depends where it originates.
Not the next episode we're recording, I should say.
Yeah.
So the introduction of gunpowder weapons, obviously in the 16th century, largely ended the use of archery in large-scale warfare. They continue to be used in hunting. Obviously, they continue to be used in hunting to this day. Remote tribes around the world using it as a primary weapon. Obviously, hunters choosing to use it as like a secondary weapon or as a silent weapon, and even some special forces in warfare using it for its silent properties. But they fell out of favour, obviously, as a weapon. But inevitably became popular as a tool for recreational purposes, led by the British upper class, believe it or not.
Yeah,
those people with far too much time on their hands and trying to find ways to spend it, basically. So archery as a recreational pastime had become popular in England and Scotland once the lay people, the hoi polloi, the riffraff, as you say, had stopped using it in like the 17th century. So it was the 1780s when it really became fashionable amongst the aristocracy, though. Before you do
the 1700s, can I just, like, I don't know if this is correct, but was it the 1600s when the Royal Company of Archers was formed?
Yes.
And that...
Yeah, I just sort of skipped over that.
Yeah, like I think. Well, the only reason I ask is, or wanted to check, was because that would make it one of the oldest sporting bodies in the world.
I guess it would, yeah.
If it was organising competition. I don't know if it was though.
It's a bit of a grey area. Some of these old companies are sort of special regiments of the army. A lot of them now, sort of like ceremonial regiments that certain MPs have been a member of and such like.
But yeah, sorry, I just thrown it out there because it was something I came across but didn't fully understand.
It is actually quite interesting because a lot of what I've been talking about, it sort of paints a picture that there's sort of it's a grey area between archery as a sport and archery as a tool, as a hunting tool, or as a weapon of war or whatever. Obviously, these people are being told to practice archery as a sport, but only because they need to use archery in warfare. So it's always been a grey area.
Fun ways of practicing, and therefore it becomes like competitive or whatever.
Yeah, and obviously martial tournaments as well that we're talking, medieval tournaments, were just showing off your martial prowess or trying to get yourself a better command or whatever, trying to impress the right people. So it's always been a very grey area, but it became less of a grey area in the late 18th century. So an antiquarian named Sir Ashton Lever, or possibly Sir Ashton Laver, I'm not sure about the pronunciation of that particular surname, but he formed the Toxophilite Society in London.
Do you know what? I nearly said at the beginning of this that people who do archery are called toxophilites.
Yes.
And I didn't know why. Here we go.
And I kind of wish you had, because otherwise I wouldn't be going, straight into trying to pronounce that, because I had no idea. So I think I got it pretty much right. So I'm quite pleased with myself there.
Yeah.
So a Toxophilite. So yes, that society was founded in London in 1781 with the patronage of the Prince of Wales himself, the future King George IV. So, we're talking proper British upper classes here. So lots of societies were formed. They spread across the country. The new sport became popular pastime in the country gardens and at social gatherings. Again, very similar to our tennis episode. It was enjoyed by both men and women and acted as a sort of social lubricant, giving men and women the chance to both engage with each other socially and also show off to each other and display their prowess, as men like to do, but I'm sure women also like to do as well when given the opportunity. It may come as no surprise to anyone given the theme of this episode so far. It was very much co-opted as a distinctly British thing, sort of harking back to Agincourt, obviously, and then folk tales like Robin Hood, famously.
Our guy.
Our guy. So contests and societies were seen as like patriotic establishments, with the sport moving away from being a purely elite pastime only after the Napoleonic Wars, basically, sort of into the 1820s. But it became popular at that point amongst a lot of classes, and it became popular in culture as well, basically on the back of the sort of novels I'm talking about, like the Sir Walter Scott's Ivanhoe in 1819, which had essentially Robin Hood as a character in that, as a character of Locksley, the alias of Robin Hood, who competed in and won archery tournaments in the book. And the sport itself had its heyday probably in the mid-19th century, or in Britain at least, in the mid-19th century, where it took its first steps to being a proper modern sport with the founding of the Grand National Archery Society, which is still going to this day.
From your hometown.
Yeah, from my neck of the woods, from York. Still going as Archery GB today. That was 1861 that it was founded, but it had been holding Grand National meetings for about 2 decades prior to that, the first of which was in 1844. And that was on the Knavesmire in York, which is where the racecourse is now. So
I was going to say as well.
15 minutes in the car at this time.
The Grand National is not to be confused with the Grand National of Horse Racing, just a competition with the same name.
Yeah, the Grand National of Archery.
But confusingly on the grounds of the horse racing course in York now.
Yes, slightly confusing. Although York is nowhere near as prestigious as Aintree, I should say.
No, but it does have a very spectacular,
pleasant place.
Yeah, grandstand. And the great
football pitches there.
The great Frankel ran there.
Indeed. I don't know how you know that, but indeed. Good knowledge.
Because I love Frankel, mate.
That's a very fine reason. So there had been archery meetings before this, but they were probably more notable for the pageantry than they were for the actual sport taking place. So fine dress, decor, food, trying to replicate that sort of medieval tournament vibe, basically. But from the Grand National meets, it became more about the sport, and there was also standardised rules introduced for the first time, which was called the York Round, where arrows were shot at 100, 80 and 60 yards, with multiple attempts at each. A man named Horace A. Ford pioneered new archery techniques at the Grand National, and personally won it 11 times in a row, which is very impressive. And he published a very influential guide in 1856 as well. But, as we mentioned in our tennis episode, by the late 19th century, archery had declined in popularity in Britain because the very, very fad-driven upper classes had moved on to a new sport by then, which was croquet and later tennis. So archery just fell out of fashion like that. It was popular enough that it was a sport at the second Olympic Games. It wasn't at the first Olympic Games in 1896. It was at the second in Paris, I want to say the second one was, 1900?
1900 was in Paris, yeah.
Yeah, so it was held as a Olympic sport there. It's had a really patchy appearance record at the Olympics, which surprised me. Before I went into looking this up, I was of the assumption that it's going to have been in all of them, or most of them.
No, I guess
feels
dropped.
like the kind of sport they should be. But yeah, it got dropped and only brought back in the 64, was it?
Yeah, I think so.
Crazy.
72.
Wow.
Yeah, 1972. That is much later than I thought. 1972 Olympics. Where were they? They Munich. Yeah. Yes, they were.
It's when
the shooting happened.
Terrible, terrorist attack happened.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, do you want me to pick it up from there?
Please. I've just done, what was that? 61,900 years.
Yeah.
You can pick it up from there.
I can
Bring us home, Ben.
I can do the dip. I can do the dip over the line. I mean, like as you just said there, dropped in 1920, which is Antwerp in Belgium, reinstated in 72 in Munich. In the intervening period is when World Archery was formed. It was formed as the Fédération Internationale de Tir à l'Arc, or FITA. That's French again. Absolutely useless pronunciation. Sorry, everybody. But it was founded in
That's why you had to point out that it was French, because no one else would have realised otherwise.
Embarrassing. 1931 in Poland at the time, but actually Lviv in Ukraine in modern day. And had 7 founding member states. And I think this is really interesting, the 7 founding member states, because the UK weren't one of them. So despite it all emerging from the United Kingdom, as you have so eloquently described, I think sort of by the late 1800s, like archery clubs in Britain are sort of basically fallen off the map.
Yeah, there's something like less than 50 by the turn of the century. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, like I said, it's so faddy. Like it became popular too early to become like a proper popular British sport.
But at the same time,
whereas tennis was like perfect time.
Yes, but at the same time, archery was exported to the States in an organised fashion. It's sort of like 1879. The National Archery Association in the United States was organised, I think. And America, the New World and all that, and the vast population that it has, and the exponential growth just meant that was a big advantage for the sport in terms of growing internationally and popularity. And so you had France, Czechoslovakia, Sweden, Poland, the USA, Hungary, and Italy as the founding organisations, and they were hoping to install a regular archery championship and to return archery to the Olympic Games, as discussed, it having been dropped. And they were successful in their first ambition pretty quickly. They set up the Target World Championship in 1931, and they were held every single year until 1959, when the World Championships became biennial events, so every 2 years. But as we just discussed, it took a little bit longer to get it back into the Olympics, but back into the Olympics it did get.
Yeah.
And that was it, really. That was kind of organised archery from that day forth. It was the World Championships and the Olympic Games. But the Archery World Cup, which is our topic of discussion today, was introduced in 2006.
Yes.
And I think this is a very smart way of trying to grow a sport. It was designed to present archery in spectacular locations. So
I do like that idea. Like when I was looking into the Archery World Cup, I like that's the first and foremost part of on their mind, as in to make it into a sport that people will go to
because it looks good,
regardless of sort of the sport in question. Because no one doesn't like archery. Ultimately, everyone is aware of it as a sport. Everyone probably wants to try it out, but whether or not it's popular in a place obviously varies. But to then put it in a place which is notable or beautiful or a nice place to be, it's a smart idea. I like it.
And
very wholesome.
I went to the archery in the 2012 Olympics, which was held at Lords, which
Nice.
was very much presumably modelled on that kind of thinking, and worked very, very well because you had the Grand Pavilion in the background whilst these guys were taking, their shots at targets, and it just added to the occasion. Regardless, archery's a simple sport. You're just firing an arrow at a target, trying to get as close to the bullseye as possible, and you get points the closer you are, more points the closer you are to the centre, through a various coloured ring.
Yeah.
But having it somewhere that was interesting just meant that, between shots and things like that, you were just in a nice setting, and it made the experience very enjoyable. So I think it's a very clever way of doing it.
There's very few nicer places to be actually in London than Lord's Cricket Ground, so yeah, makes sense to me.
Yeah, it's a very good idea. And yeah, the format's pretty simple. I mean, the World Cup consists of 4 rounds, compete across the world, and I mean literally across the world.
Oh yeah.
During the calendar year, and you have a series of different competitions, best individual and mixed team performances. We'll come on to it in a minute, but there are 2 primary types of competition in archery, and essentially the best performing individuals are then invited to compete in the World Cup final at the end of the year. Yeah, and that's archery. That's organised archery. That's the history of archery. That's how you get to the Archery World Cup. It's a simple but pretty effective sport.
Does the job.
Yeah, I mean, it's broadcast live on Eurosport, so they're doing something right. It's got some pretty effective competition. It's got some pretty effective sponsorship. Kia, people who make cars.
Nice.
Yeah.
No surprise, given the country it's most successfely competed in.
Yeah.
Or the nationality of the most successful country you compete in it, I should say. That being South Korea. I think Kia are a South Korean brand. So no surprise there.
Yeah. And they also have, is it Longines? Who have a Prize of Precision award for the best male and female athletes that master bow and arrow through concentration, balance, accuracy, and skill. I mean, it's pretty obvious who the most precise archer is, isn't it? It's the one who just hits the bullseye the most often.
I was going to say there's a very a quick measure of who the most accurate and precise, I should say, archer is. You would have thought, but
no. The irony is, mate, is they give that big tagline, but then the award goes to the archer who shoots the most 10s over the course of the competition.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's actually not a bad idea, because that might not necessarily be the person who wins it, but ironically that would make them less precise, probably, or certainly less consistent.
Yeah, the current holder is a chap called Mike Schlosser from the Netherlands. He holds the men's title, and Andrea Becerra from Mexico. Yeah, you get money. Well, what you actually receive is a trophy, a watch, because obviously I think Longines are a watchmaker, and a cash prize. Can you guess how much you get for this endeavour?
Can I guess? The $50,000.
God, they need you in charge, mate. You get 5,000.
That's a lot, isn't it?
You get 5,000 Swiss francs or $6,200, which is paltry.
I would have thought a company like that would be able to afford a proper payout, and it would entice people to go for broke. Try and hit that bullseye every time. Which actually, I'm fairly sure they're trying to do anyway. But
well, yeah,
take some risks.
No, I agree. In fact, there's on the prize money side of things, I was shocked by this. So for the rounds, there are 4 rounds. Guess how much you get in prize money? Positions 1 to 8. I mean, you don't have to
$50. I'm going low because I went high before.
No, it's not that absurdly low, of course, but it is low, all things considered.
What are we talking?
So in the person who comes 8th will only get $375, which is
that's not even a plane ticket.
Well, this is my point. So 7th gets $437, 6th gets $500, 5th $560, and then you start to get something resembling a respectable amount of compensation. So 4th gets 1.5k, 3rd gets 2.1k, the runner-up gets 3.1k, and the winner gets $5,600.
It's not exactly Wimbledon, is it?
Do you know what I mean? Considering this is an international sport, the stages are held everywhere. I mean, it's truly global. China, Croatia, Denmark, Dominica Republic, El Salvador, Turkey, UK, Dubai, Mexico, Switzerland, France, the US, Colombia, Poland, Germany, Italy, Russia, Guatemala, Spain, and South Korea have all held stages of the World Cup. So, and obviously you go to 4 of those locations in the round robin stage, and then the final is held somewhere. And so, for example, this year, one of the stages is in China, and the final is also in China. But they went around the world for the others. And nobody has won 2 stages, I don't think, in this year's edition at least, as in 2 of the stages. So, people are probably making, I don't know, 10k if they're like the best.
That's crazy. I mean, I'm going to assume there's other competitions in between and other opportunities to make money, but that feels
unsustainable.
Considering this is the World Cup, that is a difficult thing to sustain. Obviously, this might be us in ignorance to a certain extent. There might be other competitions that pay better, or there might be sponsorship involved, or it might have been an amateur competition until relatively recently, and this might be a big step up from previously. But it feels, for such a global sport, such a popular sport as well, especially extremely popular in South Korea, I would have thought it'd be more than that.
It does get better in the final, but not much better. You get 2k for coming 4th. You get 10k for coming 3rd, which is a big jump. You get 18.7k for coming 2nd, and then the winner gets 30,000 Swiss francs, which is $37,500 there or thereabouts. So I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I wouldn't say no, but
still, I mean, you presumably it's very, unless your sponsorship deals or their opportunity on some other circuit or something, as you say, to make more money. It feels like it's very difficult to be a professional archer.
Yeah, I mean, there might be some expenses involved as well. Maybe they don't have to pay for their plane tickets or whatever else, or maybe, I don't know, I'm speculating, but that feels, comparing it to tennis is a sport I know more about.
Yeah, or golf.
In that I know everyone pays their own way around, obviously, but the money involved is quite good once you get to a certain level. But I can appreciate if you're outside the top 150 players in the world in any of these sports, the money's not good. If you can't qualify for a major tournament, you're struggling to get by on your own dime, as well as flying all around the world and everything else. If you take away any sort of expenses, I can't see how they're surviving as a professional on that. And again, this might be naivety on our part, but I don't know.
No,
I would have thought it'd be more than that, especially with big sponsors and such a high level of popularity in certain countries.
I agree, mate. They went to the stage 1 was in the US. Stage 2 is in China.
Yeah, exactly.
The stage 3 was
Florida.
Stage 3 was in Turkey.
There's no one in Florida worth less than $100,000.
Yeah.
That's obviously a complete lie. There's lots of people in Florida. In fact, Florida's quite famous for it. But even so, America's a rich place.
Yeah.
They're centralizing on what looks like a very nice place, as is obviously the point of the competition when they're in Florida. Yeah, it seems.
Well, and then
I don't know.
They're in Spain as well. So I don't know what the flight tickets are, but they are all, with the exception of maybe Turkey to Spain, long haul flights.
Yeah.
And bit bizarre. But
anyway, yeah, crazy.
The way the system works, the way you qualify for the World Cup final, is the first 4 stages are open to archers who have recorded a score that exceeds the minimum competition standard. I don't know what that minimum standard is, but I presume it's kind of like a ranking system or a series of qualification ranking points or something like that. The final stage, only 8 archers are invited per category, but the way it works is if you win one of the stages, you automatically qualify for the final. So
that's cool.
Yeah, so nobody, I don't think, I might be wrong about this, but I don't think anybody won 2 stages this year in any of the competitions. So you would have 4 different people, therefore, attending the final. And then you get one archer who is presumably the best ranked archer from the host nation, which I think is a bit smelly, but I understand it. Because it incentivizes people to host it, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same as hosting team competitions like the World Cup, etc. in football.
Yeah.
Not having the host nation there, or having a competitor in this case from the host nation, probably would affect turnout. So I get that.
Yeah. So that's the position. So that's theoretically 5, and then the remaining spots are filled based on the Hyundai Archery World Cup ranking point system, and no no coincidence that Hyundai are a major sponsor, for the reasons already discussed about the prowess of South Koreans at archery.
Indeed, yeah.
Or proficiency is probably a better word. So, I don't know. Do you want to know about the different types of archery?
I actually, yes, I do.
Do you know anything about the different types of archery?
Only up to the year 1900, because I stopped my research at that point, apparently.
So, I mean, you probably know the one that is in my view, having been interested in this sport for 20 minutes, and therefore, fully qualifying me to comment with authority on what people should and shouldn't enjoy in the archery community. Recurve archery is the only archery anyone should give a shit about. So it's the Olympic format, and only recurve archery takes place in the Olympics. It is predicated on the history of archery that you described earlier. It's the type of bow that has been used historically is a recurve bow. I mean, I don't really understand how to describe the bow because it's quite technical, but essentially it's more difficult. I understand it to be more difficult because it stores more energy and delivers energy more efficiently than a straight limb bow, and it gives a greater amount of speed to the arrow. What that also means, though, is that there's a greater stress on the bow itself and the materials that are used.
Yes.
Obviously, in the modern day, it's like carbon fiber and fiberglass and stuff like that, but historically, it would be wood, of course. They basically make a really nice pinging sound. It's quite loud, and if you get it wrong, if you're crap at it, you can actually quite seriously hurt yourself.
I imagine so. There's the pulling force on some of these bows is crazy.
Yeah,
the amount of strength involved,
the torque. But I'm just I'm trying to make sense of this for beginners because that's what we are.
For yourself, basically.
Yeah. But the central part of the bow, which is called the riser, is constructed separately to other parts of to the limbs. Which then where the string is, call it string wire. I don't know what the right terminology is attached.
I think string is right.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a diagram currently and it says string, so I'll believe it.
So and it just it's very if constructed correctly, it's a very stable bow. But as discussed, it's the accuracy and the safety
it's very dependent on the skill of the user.
Yes,
shall we say?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm stumbling through this because it is really quite technical. You have to sort of know about
I was going to say,
bow making in order to fully understand it, and I don't.
I mean, I'm the engineer here. I should be the one explaining this, but so I can only send my apologies. But I imagine it's the kind of thing that if I ever got into it and looked into it, I'd get deeply, deeply fascinated by. Because I've had a quick look now, and it is, it's interesting. Well, the interesting thing about this is the basic design of a recurve bow. Obviously, the materials have changed. Obviously, the design has been developed over time, and there's now sight, and there's whatever else on it. But I mean, recurve bows are mentioned in the Bible. That's how old they are. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's got some history behind it, some weight.
Yeah, so the 8th century BC and beforehand as well. So the actual design, the humanity discovering this technology and putting it into practice, obviously to kill people and to kill animals at this point, probably not to win competitions, but it goes very far back and was used and spread among a lot of civilizations. So I'm starting to get fascinated by this, but
but this, you can understand now why I was saying that this is the only competition that anybody should actually want to win if they give a shit about archery, because it's the purists version.
You can't say it's not harking back to a large portion of human history. That's about as pure as you can get.
Yeah, it's the right way to fire an arrow.
So what other ways are there then?
So there's only one other way, which is a compound bow.
Yeah,
which is a very modern, technologically advanced bow. It was actually only developed in 1966 by a chap called Hollis Wilbur Allen in North Kansas City in Missouri in the States. And
nice.
It's essentially a pulley or a cam system.
Oh, yes.
That sort of grants the user a mechanical advantage. And the limbs of the bow are a bit stiffer than the recurve or a long bow. The rigidity makes it basically more energy efficient. less energy dissipated along the limbs. Just sort of improves accuracy, essentially, makes it easier to fire, reduces the bow's sensitivity to changes in temperature and humidity, so like environmental conditions. I think it just basically is a slightly easier bow to use. I'm sure people who like archery are probably screaming, "You don't know what you're talking about, you idiot. It's very, very difficult." But
correct.
I have already decreed that I'm now the most qualified person to comment on archery and which versions you should aspire to be good at. And it's
certainly in this podcast. I agree with that. Absolutely.
It's definitively recurve, mate. I mean, if you're a compound fan, then you're just a beta archery fan, in my view.
Decisions been made, guys. Sorry.
Yeah.
Come at us if you disagree.
So
We love honest feedback.
Yeah. Where does that lead us? That leads us to who our current champions are. So,
yes.
Do you want to know who our beta champions are first?
No, not really, but I suppose we probably should.
Yeah, no. We shouldn't really give them the airtime, but in the men's format, it's a guy called James Lutz from America, and we should have known the American would cut the corners. Be satisfied with a underwhelming victory. But he's our current World Cup holder. And then in the women's side of things, it's Sarah Lopez from Colombia, who's actually won it 9 times. And the mixed team, no prizes for this, for guessing.
Is it South Korea?
No, it's not South Korea, mate, because it's not the purest
the
version.
Americans.
It's the Americans,
isn't it?
Yes.
Should point out we're recording this while the Ryder Cup is on, so Americans.
So recurve.
Actually, we're not. As it stands, although this might change over the next 2 days, not that angry with the Americans at the moment.
No, pity. I hope that doesn't. We don't rude mockery.
So I'll edit it out if we do.
So yes, champions of the purest version, the alpha champions. The only champions you should really be interested in. In the men's side of things, you've got Kim Woo Jin, who's from South Korea. He's won it 5 times. And then on the women's side, it's Li Jaiman, who's from China, which is
very nice.
Yeah, I guess it's big in China, hence the reason why they keep hosting stages of the World Cup. The mixed team, have a wild guess, mate.
South Korea?
South Korea, of course it is.
You got me doubting myself now.
I mean, look, South Korea are comfortably the most successful nation in the World Cup. They've won the most medals, followed by China, which makes sense. A surprise entry at third. Care to speculate?
In archery?
Yeah.
Australia?
I have given you the whole world to guess from, so it's pretty unfair. But
I just guessed Australia because they're good at everything.
They are good at everything, aren't they? But no, it's not them. It's India.
Yeah, that actually does make sense.
But yours truly coming in at 13th, so we haven't lost touch with our...
That is surprisingly good.
Yeah, it is surprisingly good.
I'm just so used to like the volleyball episode, us just being like, nah, it's not our sport, so nah, just not getting involved.
Well, I guess like Robin Hood and like the Olympics, probably keeps it on the radar, and in folklore and that sort of thing. I think that one of the coolest things that I came across when I was looking at the sort of medal history and the success of various individuals and nations for this is that when we were saying earlier, like it's a very global sport, it really is. Like,
it really is.
50 countries have won medals, and 36 different countries have won a gold at some point.
That's about as worldwide as you can get.
Yeah, it's up there with athletics.
I'm not sure we come. I was going to say on that, other than the World Championships across all the different sports, I'm not sure we've covered anything which is that global. It's impressive.
Yeah, and I reckon, like, I wondered this, like, in terms of the history of it. Like the only sport that really competes with it is athletics, for all the reasons discussed in terms of its simplicity and its relevance to just day-to-day life and survival and so on and so forth. And I just wonder, therefore, if that's the reason there is like everyone
so
does
global.
It. Yeah, yes.
Well, as I say, other than Australia, and in fact, I probably shouldn't have guessed Australia previously
kind of
for
ironic,
the reason
actually.
I mentioned before. Other than Australia, every country has a very deep history of using. That culturally speaking, historically, their ancestors using this equipment to survive. So yeah, I guess it's easy to find sort of like folklore and stories connected to it. Obviously, you've got Robin Hood, but there'll be like William Tell as an example of a story. Yeah, which is
no, it's cool.
plenty of them.
Yeah, so Yeah, very, very global, but that doesn't translate into overall success. I mean, I mentioned the World Cup, but just because we we're paying homage here to the South Koreans, I think it's only right that we put it into proper context so people appreciate their dominance in totality. South Korea hold every Olympic title.
Solid.
Every single one. They are also the women's world champion, Kang Chae-young. They don't hold the men's world championship currently. That is Andres Tamino from Spain, who is the men's world champion.
Very nice.
But yeah, I guess the fact that the Spaniard holds the men's world title sort of serves to illustrate the point we're making in some ways. But, I mean, 5 of the top 10 are South Korean, ranking-wise. 5 of the top 10 most successful World Cup individuals are also from South Korea.
No surprise there.
An American is the most successful man in total, though, a guy called Braden Galathian. I hope I'm pronouncing his surname right. He's got 38 golds and 78 medals overall. It would be a first. So let's just assume I got it wrong. And the most successful woman is the lady I mentioned earlier, Sarah Lopez. She's actually third overall. 33 golds, 51 individual medals, which is actually the most individual medals of anybody, because Galathians included team medals. Yeah, and Kim Woo-jin, who's the men's current World Cup holder, is second overall on the medals ever achieved. So he's a rather talented guy.
Very nice.
But I mean, that's kind of archery. I mean, yeah, the World Cup's coming up. The World Cup final in China. Yeah, it's this weekend. If you're interested in it, it's on Eurosport.
Indeed, and if you're not in Europe, then Google. Google is your friend.
Have we made a bowman out of you as a result of this?
Well, if we haven't, I do have a couple of people I would like to mention as notables for very specific reasons, as I will now mention. Is now a good time to slip them in? I'm guessing it probably is, because it sounds like we're wrapping this one up.
Yeah. I mean, slip them in, mate. Let's bring this to a close. Bring the house down with shout outs.
So I want to call out two archers, one male, one female, both of whom have overcome disabilities, to some quite incredible disabilities actually, to become successful and to win gold medals in archery. One of them is a Korean man named Im Dong-hyun. He has won 2 Olympic gold medals, 8 World Championship gold medals, 1 World Cup final, 4 Asian Games and 3 Asian Championship gold medals, which is a pretty good haul. And it's an especially good haul when you consider the fact that he is legally blind. Which is incredible.
That's wild.
So to define what legally blind means, this means that with corrective lenses, or with some sort of corrective action, he still has 2100 vision or worse in both his eyes. In fact, he has 2200 vision in his left eye and 2100 vision in his right eye. So this means that 2100 vision means that if you have perfect vision, something you can see 20 meters away, he sees like it's 100 meters away, essentially, for you, if that makes sense. Yeah. 2200 meters there. He can see as much detail as you can see an object 200 meters away at 20 meters. I can really appreciate this because I have glasses and they do correct my vision. They give me 20/20 vision when I wear them. But if I take them off, I have 2100 vision. And I cannot see shit, Ben, without my glasses on, let alone
I'm aware.
An archery target at 60 meters or 100 meters or 80 meters or whatever. I cannot see anything. And the fact that he has that vision, even when corrected, and still has that many gold medals, bravo. All I can say, bravo.
How does a man do that?
Practice? I don't know.
Yeah. I guess physics works, right? Like if you know how far away it is, you know how high it is.
As long as it's consistent, I guess.
Yeah.
If that blur is the same every time in the distance.
That's true.
But my word.
But still.
He must have worked so hard to get there.
Let's not trivialize it, yeah. All we have to do is work out, distance and height and set the trajectory of the arrow. It's obviously going to hit the bullseye.
It's just mechanics, isn't it? I mean,
yeah. He's obviously a compound archer, this guy.
It's one of those crazy things that you see this a lot in football, actually. Coaching football, in my case, that if a player lacks something, and it's usually pace, or it's strength, or it's something like that, height maybe, they find ways to make up for it. Like some of the smartest players that I've ever coached are some of the slowest players I've ever coached. Some of the bravest players I've ever coached or some of the smallest players I've ever coached, because they make up for their sort of shortcomings, as it were, by overcompensating, basically.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time then, if they grow or get quicker or something like that, they become fantastic players as a result of this. I guess with not being able to see, he's just had to hone his brain, his instincts and his understanding of the conditions and everything just to the nth degree to make up for it. And he clearly has done it well, because those are a mixture of team and individual medals, but there's a lot of individual medals in there as well. So fair play.
Yeah, fair play indeed. Did you say there was someone else that you wanted to give a mention in?
Another
dispatches to?
a very impressive woman in this case. This is a woman from New Zealand. Her name is Neroli Fairhall, and she was in her youth an avid sports enthusiast, a horse rider primarily in her youth. Unfortunately, so she was in a motorcycle accident in her youth. I think she was about 21 at the time, and it was so bad that it was 24 hours that she was unable to be moved for in that situation. It's a awful story, and she lost. She was paralysed from the waist down after that, so it ended her obviously any chances of having a equestrian career. But she took up archery after that, and bearing in mind, obviously, we're not talking Paralympics here. We're talking actual competition with other able-bodied athletes, and she managed to not only win a Commonwealth gold medal and as well as a Paralympics gold medal in 1980. She also got selected for the New Zealand Olympic team for the 1980 Olympics. Unfortunately, anyone who knows anything about their history, the 1980 Olympics were held in Moscow, and it was the year that everyone boycotted it. A lot of Western countries, or Western allied countries, boycotted it due to a protest against the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan at the time, ironically. She kept going, obviously, and she won, as I mentioned, that Commonwealth gold in 1982. And in 1984, she was selected for the Olympic team again. She went to the Olympics. She only finished 35th, which I think she was a bit disappointed with, but she was the first paraplegic person in any event to compete at the Olympic Games. She was a multiple national champion as well of New Zealand, held lots of titles of, obviously, Paralympics I mentioned as well, and competed in the Summer Paralympics in 1972, 1980, 1988 and 2000, as well as her Olympic Games appearance. She also competed in track and field as well in the Paralympics, as well as archery.
Wow.
And both athletics and archery in the 1980 game, but winning her gold medal in archery, it was definitely, for obvious reasons, her best competition. She was appointed an MBE in 1983 and continued to coach in Christchurch until she sadly passed away in 2006, which due to an illness arising from her disability. So, sad ending, but amazing woman, and definitely worth a mention, I thought.
Yeah, that's definitely worth a mention. I mean, like, I guess it's becoming not common, but you see people like sort of bridging that gap, so to speak, for a better phrase, of able-bodied and disabled sport more now. But that's like pioneering to have been doing it in the 80s. Yeah,
well, the popularity of the Paralympics has obviously aided that. So more competitors in the Paralympics means
better technology.
More opportunity, therefore, to potentially compete against able-bodied athletes, and it's a good thing, obviously. Although not every example of it has turned out to be a good person, but that's a story for another day.
Yeah, another day. He will get a mention.
I think this is the second time we've surreptitiously mentioned Oscar Pistorius.
Yeah, well, if you shoot your girlfriend on Valentine's Day, then probably going to give you a notorious reputation thereafter.
Indeed.
Regardless of your achievements in the sporting world. So, why are we giving the last word to Oscar Pistorius?
We're not. I'm going to give the last word back to Neroli Fairhall, because I've just remembered a brilliant quote that she had, which was, a journalist had the goal to suggest that she had an advantage with archery because she was sitting down, obviously. So he asked her, "Do you think you have an advantage because you're sitting down?" And she just looked up at him and said, "I don't know. I've never done it standing up."
Ah, nice. Mic drop.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, good way to end it. Good story.
Yes, much better way.
Yeah. I hope you're enjoying your holidays.
I am enjoying my holidays. Thanks for asking, Ben.
Yeah.
I'm having the time of my life. Hopefully there's not been any hurricanes hitting the southeast of America.
And the next...
Otherwise, this is going to become quite a famous piece of podcasting.
The next one is may also be a pre-record potentially.
Well, if we have time to pre-record it, so
Yeah.
we might have to cover our bases a little bit here, because we are hoping the next episode will be previewing the NBA regular season, which will be starting next week, at your point of listening. But it depends a lot on whether we have time to record it in the meantime. So should we not record it in the meantime, we'll let you know, obviously, on the socials, as we do normally. So please do have a look there. And if it's not that, it will be the Melbourne Cup the week later. So horse racing again. So I'm excited about, because some good stories about that.
Yeah, horse racing's awesome. There are just a
Yes.
shit ton of stories that come out of horse racing.
And apparently we have quite a lot of Australian fans now after the AFL episode. Who'd have thought it?
Yeah, well, that was very kind of them as well to engage in that.
Yeah, thank you guys.
And not critique us too heavily.
No, you were very nice.
Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
underestimated you. The Americans. Oh, not like the Americans. Gah.
Cool. All right, then. Should we leave it there?
Probably best to, yeah.
All right, mate. See you in a bit.
See you in a bit. Bye, mate. Thank you for listening. We know how important your time is, so appreciate you putting a little of it towards us today. If you enjoyed today's episode, firstly, head over and give the Archery Parent podcast a listen. And after that, if you have time, a like, a subscribe, or a rating would be grand. Please tell your friends about us too, even the weird ones. Our theme tune is Oh Yeah by Harmonia Productions. You can find us on Instagram and Blue Sky at The Sporting Almanac. Drop us an email at thesportingalmanacpodcast@gmail.com. Next up, we've got a week off while I take in America. Until then, whether you're a perfect 10 or just shooting your shot, sport is nothing without the history that makes it. Have a great fortnight, guys. Goodbye.